What's up, NBA fans? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you never miss out on the hottest NBA news, trade rumors, and analysis. Today, we've got something absolutely mind-blowing on our hands. A trade rumor that's been causing a whirlwind in the NBA community. We're talking about a potential blockbuster trade that could send De'Aaron Fox to the Miami Heat in exchange for none other than Jimmy Butler. Yup, you heard that right, De'Aaron Fox to the Heat and Jimmy Butler to the Sacramento Kings. But what would this trade mean for both teams? What does it do for their championship aspirations? And is this trade actually feasible or just a pipe dream? In this video, we're going to break down everything, the potential pros and cons for both the Heat and the Kings, the salary cap implications, how it affects the league as a whole, and why this trade might just be the boldest move of the season. So, grab a snack, sit back, and let's dive into this insane trade rumor. Let's first talk about why this trade is even being discussed in the first place. The Miami Heat, under the leadership of Jimmy Butler, have consistently been contenders in the Eastern Conference, reaching the NBA Finals in 2020 and the Eastern Conference Finals on multiple occasions since then. But despite Butler's superstar performances, there are still questions about the Heat's long-term prospects. Butler, now 34 years old, is in the back end of his prime. The Heat have a championship window that's clearly still open, but it's also shrinking. And for all of Miami's grit and defense, the Heat are still missing that dynamic point guard who can control the tempo of the game and orchestrate the offense in a way that complements their already elite defensive system. Enter De'Aaron Fox, a young, lightning-fast point guard who has blossomed into one of the brightest talents in the NBA. For the Heat, making a move for Fox could be exactly what they need to ensure their championship window stays open for years to come. Fox's elite speed, ability to attack the basket, and dynamic playmaking skills would fit perfectly with a roster that has no shortage of shooting and athleticism. On top of that, Fox is still just 26 years old, which means the Heat would be acquiring a franchise-caliber player who is just entering his prime. But to make a trade like this work, the Heat would need to part ways with their current superstar, Jimmy Butler. Butler's departure would be a tough pill to swallow for the Miami fanbase, given how much he's meant to the team's identity and culture. But if the Heat are to continue their pursuit of a championship, this trade could be the bold move that sets them up for sustained success in the future. Meanwhile, the Sacramento Kings find themselves in an interesting position. After years of mediocrity and rebuilding, they've finally found a semblance of stability with De'Aaron Fox leading the way. Fox has emerged as a premier point guard in the NBA, capable of putting up 25-plus points and dishing out 7-plus assists per game. But despite his development and the addition of all-star big man Domantas Sabonis, the Kings are still far from being contenders in the loaded Western Conference. While they've made the playoffs in recent years, the Kings are still searching for that final piece to push them over the top. This is where Jimmy Butler comes in. The Kings could see an opportunity to pair Butler with Sabonis and the rest of their young core, bringing in a proven winner who can elevate a team in ways Fox hasn't been able to yet. Butler's tenacity, leadership, and ability to take over games in the clutch would give Sacramento something they've lacked for years, a true star capable of closing out big games. Butler's leadership and veteran presence could be exactly what a young team like the Kings need. He would serve as the emotional leader and defensive anchor for the team, while also providing the scoring and playmaking necessary for Sacramento to compete in the playoffs. Adding a player like Butler could instantly make the Kings a more dangerous team in the Western Conference, but it would also be a gamble. Trading Fox, their young star and the face of the franchise, would mark a drastic shift in their strategy, signaling a commitment to winning now rather than continuing with the youth development model. But the Kings may feel that they are in a position where they need to make such a move, as the opportunity to acquire a player of Butler's caliber doesn't come around very often. Looking at the trade's logistics, one of the biggest hurdles for the Heat in making this deal happen is the salary cap. Jimmy Butler is earning upwards of $45 million annually, while Fox's contract is significantly lower at around $30 million. To make the trade work financially, the Heat would need to send out additional salary to balance the books. Kyle Lowry, who has an expiring contract of around $28 million, could be an obvious candidate to be included in the trade. The Heat could also throw in Duncan Robinson, whose three-point shooting would be a valuable asset for the Kings. The Heat might also offer a combination of future draft picks to sweeten the deal and make it more appealing to the Kings, especially considering Butler's age and the fact that Fox is still viewed as a younger, long-term investment. Sacramento, for its part, would likely need to include more in return, perhaps adding a young player like Malik Monk or even a first-round pick to balance out the deal. Another consideration for both teams is what this trade would mean for their future. If the Heat acquire Fox, they would immediately have a younger core to build around, with Fox running the point and forming a potentially lethal partnership with Bam Adebayo, Tyler Herro, and the rest of their roster. Miami could see this trade as an opportunity to make their offense even more dangerous, while still maintaining the defensive identity they've become known for under head coach Erik Spoelstra. Fox's speed would provide Miami with the ability to push the ball in transition and create open looks for shooters like Herro and Robinson. For the Heat, this would be a move that's as much about the future as it is about the present, as Fox's prime is still ahead of him, and they could continue to compete for championships with him leading the offense. On the other hand, the Sacramento Kings would be taking a more immediate, high-risk approach. If they acquire Jimmy Butler, they'd be signaling that they're ready to win now. Butler's playoff pedigree and ability to perform in clutch situations would make him the perfect mentor for the younger players on the team, especially Sabonis and Keegan Murray. However, the Kings would be losing Fox, a player who represents their future and their long-term plan. Giving up on a young point guard with Fox's potential would be a difficult decision, and there's always the risk that the Kings might regret trading away their franchise player if Butler doesn't elevate the team to the next level. The ramifications of such a trade would go beyond just these two teams. For the Heat, acquiring Fox would change the landscape of the Eastern Conference. Miami would become even more dangerous with a young point guard who could one day be an all-star. The Heat could quickly turn into one of the most athletic and well-rounded teams in the league, with a balance of offense and defense that's hard to match. The Eastern Conference would become even more competitive, with teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, Boston Celtics, and Philadelphia 76ers needing to deal with a Heat squad that now has a new dimension to their game. For the Kings, adding Jimmy Butler could finally push them into the playoff picture in a loaded Western Conference. With a core of Butler, Sabonis, and Murray, Sacramento would no longer be considered an underdog. They would become a legitimate threat to any team in the West, particularly with Butler's defensive prowess and clutch playmaking. The Kings could quickly rise up the standings, and for the first time in a long while, they'd have a true shot at competing in the postseason. As we close out, let's talk about the potential risks for both teams. For the Heat, trading Jimmy Butler would be a bold move that risks the chemistry and identity they've worked so hard to build. Butler has been a rock for the team, and while Fox's potential is undeniable, it's hard to replace a player like Butler, who can dominate both ends of the floor. For the Kings, trading Fox could set them back if Butler doesn't live up to expectations. Fox has been the franchise cornerstone for Sacramento, and while Butler could be the missing piece to make them contenders, there's no guarantee that this move will pay off immediately. So, what do you think, NBA fans? Could this blockbuster trade actually go down? De'Aaron Fox for Jimmy Butler, it's a huge gamble for both teams, but it could completely reshape the future of the Heat and the Kings. Whether it's the Heat's pursuit of a championship or the Kings' push for playoff relevance, both teams would be making bold moves to change their respective trajectories. Let me know in the comments below, would you pull the trigger on this trade if you were the GM of either team? Who wins this deal in your opinion? And what other trades do you think could shake up the NBA in the coming months? If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another trade rumor or NBA analysis. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.